welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button, Season 3, Episode 16, also known as Episode 99. I'm one of your hosts, Alejandro. With me is the man the size of a walking carpet.
Oh, hey everybody, how's it going?
Yeah, I was deciding on that or Chewbacca, but...
I could go with either. My dog looks like Chewbacca enough that he dressed up as him for Halloween.
No, that's for real. Like, your dog is adorable. It's like that big giant fluff of an animal.
Yep. Big old curly brown fur.
Yeah, that I'm always jealous that he never makes a noise when we're recording compared to mine, which is a nice
literally behind me, laying down, chewing his bone.
Yeah, and mine will always gonna start barking at the sight of any movement, literally.
Anything.
So, Paul, can you believe next week is episode 100?
The fact that it coincides with so many things. Episode 100, roughly the third year.
They begin like the official circle, yeah.
Oh, and May the 4th, which, given our recent Star Wars Renaissance, just makes everything better.
And the thing that comes out tonight.
And the thing that comes out tonight that I can't play until late tomorrow now, because I was supposed to work from home, and I was really excited. I was planning it out. I was dropping the right hints. And then right at the middle of today, my boss said, "Hey, could you come do this thing? Like, we're going to work together on this thing in the office," because he's flying out of town. Should have seen it coming.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing you told me, that he was going to be out for like a full week, right?
Right. Yeah. So I should have realized, he's going to want to knock out everything he can the last day of the week before he leaves. Should have seen it, but I didn't. So it just like, he was facing away from me when he said it. And like the stone face that I was trying to keep on my face, well, just my stomach dropped. And it was just like...
Of all days.
No, not tomorrow, please. Say psych.
Hey, to make you feel better, I have stuff to do tomorrow also out of my home. So I might be in the same boat. Because the 28th is bank payment day for us. So that's like... That usually can take the entire day, so I might also be in that same. It
does honestly make me feel slightly better. I already feel bad enough because like half the world it feels, because all the YouTubers are posting their spoiler-free, but also fully showing all of the new styles, force powers, worlds, and because cosmetic items. So at least that much has shown up, and I'm pretty sure I saw somebody like badly photoshopped certain things that don't exist in that game into there. I won't say them just in case they're real, but
it's a big game, so they might.
It might have. So it's like, I feel like that's fake, but who knows? Anyway, Lord have mercy.
And also, you can't play today because you have to wait until your midnight for that thing to unlock.
Actual midnight. That
unlocks for me till 10. So.
Like, yeah, you lucky son of a gun, going to be able to play that thing.
Yeah, because it's currently my 349, like, currently from when I'm recording. It's your 549. Yeah, so yeah, we finished recording this. I'm going to edit it, and then I'm going to go finish watching The Last Jedi, because that was my current movie.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I stopped it right when Holdo is scolding Poe about, like, him being a flyboy and all that. So
does that mean you end up finishing Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I finished Obi-Wan and watched Force Awakens today also, and then was gonna watch The Last Jedi, which I'll save my thoughts for a chat for that one.
All right.
But just real quick, I don't know why I still like that movie so much. So that's all I'll say.
Maybe that's why, because just like how I really love Solo, and you're like, I'm not really sure if I see it the same way that at least I do. I can understand it, because there's
I like Solo way more this time that I watched it.
I am glad for that.
Yeah, because I have not seen this in theaters. I hadn't had the motivation, the desire. It was just so utterly forgettable, and then I saw that again. I was like, yeah, this is maybe not a great movie, but a great fun time that I no longer remember it after watching it 2 days ago. So the same thing happened. It's just sugar, but I can't wait for that, Paul, but before we can get to that, we have to get through this episode, because this is the X Button Podcast, our gaming podcast that posts every Fridays from 2 p.m. onwards, God willing. Available on the YouTube channel Escape Gaming, as well as most other services around the world. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at, now listen to this, podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/escape-gaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. I'll just say this, Spotify. So, because they bought Anchor, so now like my RSS feed link is a complete nightmare to say. So,
Yeesh.
So yeah, but hey, they're hosting our show, but yeah, screw corporations. But enough of that, Paul. Tell me, we haven't been playing much, but I want to hear from your things first.
I've reached a new level of kind of almost burnt out on Destiny 2 again. There's just a lot that's going on right now, and I have zero interest in the seasonal activities. Zero interest in the story for the seasonal stuff.
You had it spoiled.
Yeah, basically. But even then, it was like, it's just not obvious enough that it means that I just don't feel like doing it. Because a lot of the things in Destiny, like if it doesn't put a marker to where I need to go to activate the thing, it's like not worth my time. Because I don't want to pull up, or especially if it's like a hint or something, it's like, do this thing. Like for instance, that one quest that has you like defend an area of Neomuna or something, but it's so vague that I don't really know what it wants me to do.
That's not the season. That's expansion.
No, that's something else. I'm just saying, like in general, they've really liked to do that sometimes, and those are my least favorite things because it forces you to go find a video to know what they actually want you to do because there's not a clear enough description. So that's just something that really bugs me about games sometimes, and specifically Destiny, because they love doing it.
You like having your hand hold. That's
because I just don't have the time to force myself to go do the thing itself. Because then I waste like an hour of my precious time trying to figure it out. Anyway, yeah, so that's just frustrating. On the plus side, we went through our marathon. So shout out to our clan for going through, what was it, 5 raids with us in...
So we did, if I remember correctly, this past Sunday, it was Bolt of Glass, King's Fall, Last Wish, Root of Nightmares, and Deepstone Crypt. So yeah, 5 raids. We only did 5. Yeah. So,
yeah, 5 raids, and then y'all went ahead and finished Vault of Vow of the Disciple.
Yeah. The only one that we didn't do was Garden, because we're never going to do that raid because one of our clanmates needs that completion to get up and get another level in the Guardian ranks. The completely arbitrary thing, because that's the funny thing with Guardian ranks, is like, you don't really need to use it. That's just kind of like a vanity thing to pursue and kind of like show how much you played the game, and he just needs to do Garden of Salvation. Our clan is nigh on incapable for some reason of completing that raid. I completed it before, but only twice with the previous version of our clan, and it's just that by always happenstance, unfortunately, every time we have to do that raid, it has to be like a teaching raid. And like our buddy Duchess that was with us here 2 weeks ago, is like, him having to explain that, and it's like such a long explanation for what is so simple mechanics. It's exhausting, and I understand why he can be so exhausted of him being the one that has to explain noobs what to do. It can never be a raid where everyone that at least has done it once, we can be like, okay, let's just plow through until we get into the boss where we stopped before. So I don't know when that's gonna happen, but one day will. It's just not gonna be with Fire, because we want to like stonewall. We want to blue wall him. So,
poor guy. Fire, I feel bad for you. Yeah, so that's happening, but I'm just real proud of the crew that went through us with all of that. Moving into the next game that I played was No Man's Sky. I went back because of the Interceptor update and found out exactly what that entailed. Realized how cool the ships were, all the systems.
Very Star Wars like, very fitting.
Oh yes, got built up around that, and at a certain point, my enjoyment started to wane in that game slightly, because both how frustrating it is to build out the systems capable, like you have to grind to be able to really play what the game has to offer.
Yeah, do a lot of planetary materials and start digging, like Minecraft style.
I think when Duncan described it as Minecraft in space, it finally clicked for me, like what it is. But then at the same time, for most of like your systems in Minecraft, you have access to them even in your regular survival mode. It's just a matter of finding them and utilizing them. But for No Man's Sky, a lot of what you need to do is locked behind either nanites, the currency for that, or research points or nodes or something. And both of those are like, if you follow the right guides or whatever, there's always a meta of how to do it, but it's a constant grind and farm to be able to unlock the blueprints needed to actually build the things you need. Whereas Minecraft, it's like you make the shape or you find it in your little booklet and then you can just build the thing. So I finally figured out, as I showed you, there's an accessibility option where you can completely remove the requirements for most things, including like fuel consumption, survival mechanics, and even down to the merchants no longer require money or items for you to craft. And that is a boon for sure, because there's so many cool things that I want to build in that game, like bases and things that just get held back by all that. So I spent like most of the day buying everything for free and then just going and wanting to build stuff. And they have such detailed things now that you could just make just about whatever you want in that game. So I might play that game a little bit more today just to do a little bit of that, but I know that my enjoyment of that game is probably going to be wrapping up already, because I also fully kind of removed the reason to play the game, because when you take away the grind, there's nothing left except to build the thing that you want. So I'm going to build the thing that I want, and then I'm going to sit back and go, this is wonderful, and then delete the game off my hard drive, I think. After that, I jumped into Ghost of Tsushima because I'm really craving an open world adventure game right now involving swords. And I can't play the game that I want to play, so
Only one more day, Paul. Only one more day.
I know. And then I'm not going to be able to play for most of the weekend anyway, but alas. Yeah, so went back, and what I did this time is I started fully from scratch, so everything is out there in the world to find and accomplish. And I also changed the audio to the Japanese audio with English subtitles, and it really does change.
With proper lip sync this time, because it didn't have that before.
It's still not the best. It's very clearly hand done in a lot of places where they're just kind of trying to recreate the vague look of where their mouths would be. So every once in a while, it's a bit of that kind of Muppet talk, but at least it's closer than like the English audio being muted and put in with like another language. So that actually is really enjoyable.
Yeah. What were you playing in Ghost of Tsushima? Were you still doing the Iki Island expansion?
No, I had already finished that. So I just restarted the game from scratch, essentially, getting to replay the big charge scene and all of that stuff. I don't know how long it'll go for me, because honestly, I was already kind of not feeling somewhat. Because I just really want to play Jedi Survivor right now, so I'm like trying to waste time until that comes out, but also try to find something that holds me over that way. So I'm gonna keep playing those latter two more so probably, and
just watch the Star Wars movies. Don't play anything. Just watch the movies for the rest of the day.
We got to at least rewatch the finale for Mando season 3, so that was nice because Elizabeth missed out on that before. And it was better the second time around, I think, than the first.
Yeah. It was so much better for me knowing that I didn't have to expect like deaths that didn't happen that I was expecting were gonna happen. So that those types of finales are better to watch like when your expectations are kind of like out the window, so you can just enjoy it for what it is. And that's a really good finale for a very like for the weakest season of the show. So.
Yeah, I think more so now than ever, I'm agreeing that it was the weakest. There's parts of it that like I think I was getting confused by that best episodes of season 3 are better than some of the middling episodes of season 2. So I was kind of going back and forth, but now I'm like, yeah, okay, it's not the best, but
yeah, season
it's
1
still
it was
really
even
fun.
but even season 1 was, I feel like season 1 has emerged right now, like now that I've rewatched all of it, as my favorite season of that show. More specifically because that was
Probably
like
so.
purely Mandalorian. Season 2 was awesome, like as an overview of the things that it can connect with. But the first season of Mandalorian was just this still pure fun that holds up much better now that we've when you see how the show basically got hijacked. Like went to hijack a show and got hijacked. Like it was like a reverse Uno card. Mando went to hijack Boba Fett, and then Bo-Katan came in to hijack Mando in season 3. Though
I feel,
but the reason why that happened is that, do you know that this show season 3 started production in the middle of Last of Us production, and
I
ended
actually
before.
just found that out. I think today, in fact, like just how bad that was, where almost all of like Pedro Pascal's appearances are just ADR and voiceover, and it's just not him at all throughout the entire show.
Yeah.
So it makes me, it makes a lot more sense, because there were some points I was listening in on a podcast, and they were like, man, just imagine if we had the penultimate episode is where he loses his armor. They kind of like mock him about not having it, and he's like, it's not about the armor anymore, like fully coming full circle on who he is, or losing his armor when he gets captured in the mines of Mandalore, and he has to kind of deal with that or something, but he was just not available, so they had to write so much of it around that.
Yeah,
it makes a lot more sense.
Especially the finale, like him, like spoiler alert, him chilling in his new home when he's just like laying in the chair, just like chilling. That could have been a point where he removes his helmet,
right,
with like in front of his new adopted son, but it didn't, because production of Mandalorian season 3 ended before Last of Us even ended. So that's what's so funny. Last of Us started way earlier, and the show was still like in production when Mandalorian was still in production. So that's quite unfortunate that screwed them. But hey, at least ADR helped have the character in it. But I kind of understand why they kind of sidelined it, because they knew they didn't have the actor with it. So
yeah.
I went back to Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores after I barely touched it. Literally, I touched it just for a few hours before we started recording, and that's kind of why I was like, I had a very blasé like reaction to it, based on just how little literally I played of it last week, and just be like, yeah, it definitely seems like more Horizon. Now that I have finished it some 8 hours later, I think that's how long it took me. The Burning Shores expansion reminds me that Horizon is always going to be a series that maybe when I'm not playing it, I'm not thinking too much about it, but when I'm playing it, God, is it awesome. And I would say that the content of Burning Shores in particular is some of my favorite that I've seen of like either two of the games. The level of scale they were able to extract out of the PS5 now that it's just a PS5 only thing. There were some pictures that I was sending you like throughout my playthrough the last 2 days. That thing was stunning, and especially the scale of how it ends, which is like battle with one of those like gigantic robots that you see like just plastering mountains like through the skyboxes of that game. You literally fight one of those, and just the size of that thing, it has to be seen to be believed. This was Guerrilla flexing and being like, hey, whenever we do our next game and it's just PS5 only, buckle up. Here's what you're gonna get. And more importantly, I think like what Burning Shores fixes for me that Forbidden West didn't have is that, to me, I like Aloy again as a character. Aloy was very aloof and very like mindset focused on the second game. Also because the story of the second game is not really about her. It's more about like what's happening to the world, and her trying to figure out what's happening to like the AIs of the world and all that. So it makes the story like better from like a world building, but less impactful like to her, because the first game was all about her finding out why she looks like that the hologram she keeps seeing of the old world, and understanding what Zero Dawn is. And they fixed her character by adding a partner with you that is like literally with you the entire expansion. Her name is Seika. She's from this tribe that is like stranded here in the burning shores of Los Angeles, and this is literally Guerrilla's version of like Naughty Dog style like camaraderie, like having someone that bounces back and forth with your character, helps you in combat, has fun interactions. They actually nailed that interaction, and it actually unlocked something in Aloy that I'm like, oh man, I hope you have more characters you get to bounce off from whenever you do the third upcoming game, that it's clearly set up and reminds us what was set up at the end of Forbidden West, which was at the most blatant, oh yeah, there's a sequel coming. That's what one of my bigger problems with Forbidden West is, like, it's so blatant of being like a middle chapter that doesn't resolve anything. It's like it introduces the nemesis. And I don't know if you remember what, since you barely remember this because you're a already well publicized misogynist. I'm just kidding. that is like at the end of this game of the main game, you're told, it's like, yeah, there's this thing called the Nemesis that destroyed this far zenith advanced civilizations, like from a different planet. It's coming to Earth, and then you're like, okay, we're gonna be ready, and then the story just ends, and you're like, okay, that sucks. That it was like the story literally ends in such a blatant to be continued, instead of like closing fully the story now and then maybe set up something for later. This DLC at least helps give breathing room to that, in a way that now whenever the third game inevitably comes, like at least that's more in the forefront of my mind, and gives me an idea like how cool it can be to still deal with this villains from this game, like the super hyper sci-fi villains that we fight at the end of Forbidden West that look like the all white and all that. Is like, that's a really cool aesthetic, and you get one of their weapons. I showed you a video.
Finally,
it's an auto. It's basically like an auto weapon that just shoots. Then you reload it and shoots it. It's not super precise, so you still have to use bow and arrows, but it's nice to combine them. If you're far away, like shoot arrows. If you're getting close, put that gauntlet on and keep shooting it. Such a fun time. But I tell you, Paul, like, you have to see that final boss. Like, not just the video that I sent you, the pictures that I sent, just like that thing was like. I had heard that it was like, oh yeah, if you play Burning Shores, make sure you play to the end to witness this final boss. And you know how many people are like to be hyperbolic, and I'm at the point where rarely things impress me. This is one of the times where I was like, oh wow, that's like, I haven't been this impressed visually with something since like God of War 3 back in like PS3, like with like beauty and scale, like I was with that thing. So last week I said, like, if you wanted to just play more Horizon, for Burning Shores is basically that. It's definitely more Horizon. I'm glad that the mood hit as I was just waiting for Jedi Survivor this Friday. I was like, I can't keep playing more Star Wars. I'm gonna burn myself out because I've just been like on Star Wars kick, and I'm still, funny enough, it's like I don't feel burnt out on Star Wars, but I was like maybe getting into a teetering edge when it came to games. So I was like, no, what else can I play? I was like, no, I'm gonna play Burning Shores, and then it took me 2 days. I just mainlined it. Horizon's a really great open world to mainline. It's like, I like how friction free it is. Like, there's no grind up specific levels for you to like do things. It feels like so well designed for you to just like play through it like a linear game. And the spectacle alone to me is like worth the $20, which was $10 for it because we did a split arrangement here. So whenever you're done with Survivor, Paul, if you have the time and the space, give Burning Shores a shot. Prove you don't hate women.
Jeez. It's terrible because every time we go into that whole discussion, I'm like, yeah, what are you talking about? I love all of these girl characters in games. And then I'm trying to like think about any game with a female lead. And I was like, oh shoot, for some reason or another, that's not the gender of the main character. I don't like it. And I can't defend myself because every time there's something I don't like about those games. So it's just so funny. I have to thank our friend Zach because he's the one that pointed it out. Yep.
So, but yeah, it's like I recommend Burning Shores. Like, it's definitely like if you get the burning desire to like go back into Horizon, especially because they updated it, they added transmog that wasn't there. It was cool to be able to have like my cool and this is the Assassin's Creed Odyssey style of transmog everything at your heart's content. No need to have to use currency to like be able to change your stuff. It's like it's all free. So because there's some really ugly costumes in that game, and but there's a few cool ones that are like you get early on, but you don't get like higher level stuff. And I was able to transmog around to make Aloy look like I like her to look early on, instead of like the more primitive style the further you went into the Forbidden West. So And once and for all, I have to like stake the claim that this is not caveman. This is this is more like Native American style thing. Like, especially because I went back to Zero Dawn actually. Like after I finished, I put Zero Dawn again because I was kind of like, I might as well start like get a new run of Zero Dawn going because I'm kind of like in the mood and finished like all the way until like the initial competition, and that's like the only as far as the whole quote unquote caveman aesthetic gets in that game, and it's more like Eskimos, like those ones from like Alaska. So this game is definitely more like Native American into like colonialism, like style of like society advancement than just caveman. It's just that then it just becomes more native or later on when you go into Forbidden West. But yep, fun time, enjoyed it. In fact, I would say like it's behind Resident Evil 4 as my second favorite thing that I played so far this year. That's how much I enjoyed Burning Shores. So enough of that, Paul. We got a few news and we gotta like address the elephant in the room. So press X.
Or some news.
Review Roundup, Paul. Story number 1 for Star Wars Jedi Survivor. The game, the review embargo lifted yesterday at like 9 a.m. my time, like your 11 at your time. And the Metacritic and OpenCritic average so far is an 86. After 86 and 92 recorded reviews have been like gathered around and given the average. So in review averages, this puts Jedi Survivor behind Metroid Prime Remaster at a 94, Resident Evil 4 at a 93, Dead Space Remake at an 89, Hi-Fi Rush at an 87 for the high-profile game releases so far released this year. But it's ahead of Hogwarts Legacy that landed at an 84. So here's I gathered 5 of the more notable reviews I wanted to read, at least like the blurbs. So we got The Guardian, a very like prestigious magazine from the UK, gave it a 5 out of 5, aka a 10 out of 10 if you want to read it that way, and it says, it might not quite match the narrative prowess of BioWare's Knights of the Old Republic, but Jedi Survivor has so much else going for it. Whether you're tracking down optional bounty hunters, solving the puzzles in those Jedi temples, or searching Kobah's many obscure thoroughfares or character upgrades, the game's tactile controls and precisely balanced challenge make it constantly rewarding. Meanwhile, its biggest moments rival anything games like God of War or Elden Ring can throw at you. Be assured, this is the Star Wars game you're looking for. Reviewer Rick Lane. So, BGC Video Games Chronicle also gave it a 5 out of 5, and it says, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is Star Wars at its very best. A thrilling adventure with a stellar cast, tied together with smart, expensive combat, a huge new world to explore. And performance issues aside, it's easily one of the best Star Wars games ever made and only makes us want more tales from the adventures of Cal Kestis and BD-1. That was a review by Jordan Middler. So Game Informer came in at a 9.25, which is like a 9.3, and reviewer Matt Miller says, developer Respawn Entertainment clearly took a measured and thoughtful approach to analyze what worked and what didn't in its last Star Wars game, and Jedi Survivor feels like a worthy attempt at evolution. It captures the magic of Star Wars as well as anything in the current canon, and it's a stellar adventure in its own right. Still, nailing the fantasy of being a Jedi doesn't hurt. So, IGN came in with a 9 out of 10, with reviewer Dan Stapleton saying, Star Wars Jedi Survivor takes what Fallen Order achieved and wall runs with it, then double jumps and air dashes straight into an epic lightsaber battle. Rather than taking us back to square one to begin Cal's journey as a Padawan again, we're trusted with control of a full-fledged Jedi Knight who we can grow into a master of superhuman mobility and fantastic and challenging combat. With a new set of larger, more diverse, and densely packed worlds to explore, and a memorable cast of returning characters, Survivor tells a story that may be predictable, but is still fun and at times emotional to watch play out. Launch performance issues aside, it's a sequel that does virtually everything better than the original, which was already an exceptional Star Wars game. If Respawn makes one more like this, it'll complete the best Star Wars trilogy in 30 years, hands down. And then GameSpot came in with like a shorter like blurb. It says, gave it an 8. It says, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a superb Star Wars game that gets into the nitty-gritty of the struggle of what it takes for a Jedi Knight to begin the journey towards the rank of Master. So, 86 Metacritic, Paul. With what you read from the blurbs of at least these 5 notable ones, what's your hype level?
Just so high. Everything that they said. I think one of the best descriptions, I don't remember who said it, but it was Jedi Survivor is the best Star Wars game since Knights of the Old Republic. And I was just like, Ooh, I am so excited for this game. I don't think I've been this excited for a game in a while.
That was me
Man.
with Ragnarok last year.
Oh.
Until like I finally could like breathe and sigh of relief of knowing that Ragnarok was actually coming when they said it was coming.
And
That's
it's
that's
crazy.
as far
They
as I
still
got.
never said the game went gold either. So I
Yeah.
guess they're gonna keep working until release, but I mean, like, I get the performance issues, especially for like PC and stuff, and it just seems to be it's common enough now that what are we
Story
saying?
number 2. So
Oh,
yeah, a story by Tom Ivan
yeah.
by VGC. EA is planning weeks of Star Wars Jedi Survivor patches to fix bugs and performance issues. Despite a delay for polishing, the game looks set to launch with a significant number of issues. Following a 6-week delay designed to, quote-unquote, achieve the level of polish our fans deserve, the Respawn-developed sequel will be released on April 28th. Ahead of its arrival on Friday, the game has largely reviewed well, garnering scores of 87 over on Xbox Series X and S, which only had like 5 reviews, 86 on PS5, which I've already mentioned had like 86 reviews totaled, and an 81 on PC, which has like a 15 reviews together on review aggregation site Metacritic. However, many critics also highlighted performance issues that marred their experience, and some suggested fans might be better waiting until these have been addressed before playing the game. Shortly after reviews dropped on Wednesday, EA said the game's first patch will arrive on launch day for all platforms, and, quote, in the weeks ahead, it's planning to release patches that will fix bugs, improve performance, and introduce more accessibility features. Quote, in the game's open area, the frame rate even in the game's performance mode was worryingly inconsistent, BGC's Star Wars Jedi Survivor review noted. Screen tearing was a regular occurrence, and level of detail pop-in was a regular issue. The game also seemed to struggle to load in certain areas, forcing us to wait at the door of the saloon while it struggled to populate the interior. Koba and its large open play space seemed to be the issue, as in the more linear levels the game ran extremely well. The quality mode is supposed to trade the 60 FPS experience for 30 FPS and improved visuals, but considering that the game performs poorly in the open spaces even on performance, we recommend playing on quality mode to fully take advantage of its excellent visuals. BGC tested the game on PS5 for its review, which labeled the sequel Star Wars at its very best. It concluded the performance issues we encountered were disappointing, but didn't dampen the excitement of exploring the galaxy with some of the best characters of the Disney era. So, I feel, you just picture this, Paul. I feel like it landed at an 86 because of the performance issues. Imagine if it didn't have those.
I think it would have easily hit like a mid-90s.
Mid-90s, yeah.
Based on what everybody's saying, it's like that general consensus of, yeah, so it's got some issues, it's got some things that are like a little annoying, but not game-breaking, and at least not for PC.
Yeah.
But like the absolute hype that everybody is feeling involving this game from every angle is just, it's enough that I'm fully even more sold on everything that's about to come to us in the next 20-ish 4 hours.
Just to give more perspective on that, like performance problems, especially on PC. We got Skill Up. He tweeted 23 hours ago. He says, I'll have a Jedi Survivor review up later, but right now I can say that it's a great game that you should absolutely avoid if you're playing on PC, for now at least. The port is a total mess, namely awful FPS performance that cannot be improved through any setting changes. It struggles to maintain 40 FPS on a 2080 Ti 3700X, and my 4090 5950X cannot sustain a solid FPS. By the way, that's like the highest of tiers of like graphics cards. There's also a game-breaking audio bug at the moment that ruins every cutscene. That sounds familiar, Paul. So there's a PC patch planned for the 28th. Recommend waiting until the impacts of that patch are confirmed. So if you're looking into playing this thing on PC, that's where I've been hearing more the horror stories of this thing. Our friend Duchess, he put in our chat that they found out like through the line that apparently it's like a memory leak. That's like the Cyberpunk 2077 problem and Skyrim problem, that a memory leak was like causing all those issues. So here's hoping. That's the thing. Like many people are saying that ignoring these technical issues, this thing is really good, and I just can't wait. It's like it's so literally so close, and I'm reviewing it also. So now I'll get to see how it is. Like I'll get to review what everyone plays. That's kind of like the advantage of not getting early review code, because now I get to like tell it like how it is like post the 28th patch. could it get worse? It's happened. Elden Ring's day one patch actually borked the game on PC. I heard that Cyberpunk's day one patch made it worse than the review period also. So there's been times where even when they say, oh yeah, the day one patch is gonna fix everything, don't worry, it's like it makes things worse. The only time that a day one patch actually gave a different experience than reviewers was Days Gone. Like all those reviews that reviewed Days Gone back in 2019, it was like were not congruent at all, like from a technical sense, by the time we got it at launch. And it got like 7 patches within the same week, so should they have delayed this, Paul? If they're gonna doing weeks?
I am truly impatient enough that I don't care anymore. I think it sounds really dumb and it's gonna be so lowbrow, I guess, but it's almost like I don't care enough about the smoothness of some games when it's exactly what I'm looking for already, that I just want to play the game, and I will legitimately go back a second time after it's done being fixed and just enjoy it again. I think that depends very subjectively from person to person at a certain point. So it's definitely not a metric to decide whether or not to hold off on releasing a game, but at the same time I am excited enough about what is there. I guess it's the early release problem, where it's like, all right, you can play this with all the issues and eventually they'll be fixed. If you like it enough, feel free to keep playing. If you don't, just wait till it's done. And for a lot of people, they hate that whole concept, and for some people that's perfectly acceptable because they love what it is enough that they'll just keep playing until it's fixed, you know? Yeah.
If it's just performance issues for me, I'll manage. That's the thing. Like, we've been spoiled with how good performance has been in many games, but how often have I played many games where the performance is not great? I've done that a lot of times in my life, and I've still come out and enjoyed those things. To me, like, the only thing that could hamper me is if there's like actually game-breaking bugs, which I heard from a review that there were times where some doors didn't open, so you had to restart the game. They had gaming crashes. That could be the thing that could like lower it for me if we're playing it right now as it's coming. But I feel like this is as far as they could push it because we know what's coming. What's coming in like 2 weeks, then what's coming a few weeks after, and then the few weeks after is like. This came to release like in the middle of the bloodiest of bloodbaths that we're about to have in gaming, and one of the biggest feasts we're gonna have like in a summer, like probably ever. EA was like, okay, we gave you 6 weeks to polish it up. Can you imagine how this would have been in March 17 had they not delayed it? So,
I do, in hindsight, I'm glad that they held off because clearly they needed that time. I think it's a good thing that whatever they're doing is just barely enough to earn these good scores.
That's probably the shocking thing is like you keep hearing about all these performance issues and it still came out scoring significantly better than the original, and that game also launched a little like half cooked. So we'll see. It's like we'll get to see for ourselves in literally 6 hours. So. Let's hope for the best for that day one patch. Maybe this is going to be a Days Gone situation where that day one patch is actually going to be the fully cooked thing that the Respawn worked 6 weeks on to make this thing launch better for the people that matter. So
I did hear they're like, it's supposed to do a lot. So hopefully.
And there's New Game Plus already launching immediately. I'm so happy they're doing that because it feels like they're giving us a reason to play that game again immediately instead of having to wait 6 weeks. Like 6 months for that to launch, kind of like with God of War Ragnarok that waited this long to get like a New Game Plus. So maybe by the time New Game Plus starts for us, like they have patched it even more and it's even cooler and we get to go through the thing again. But we'll see. Next week, Paul, we're definitely gonna give our thoughts in this game.
Right? I cannot wait.
Recording in our recording time, which will actually be May the 4th. I can't imagine, like I can't think, Paul, of like a more perfect set of circumstances. The second anniversary of like a full 52 weeks of us doing the show, a Star Wars game launching, in recording in the middle of Star Wars Day. Like, how does that happen? I don't know how timed that so perfectly that I can't wait. And I hope we're gushing. And I hope it doesn't turn into another Hogwarts Legacy situation, which I doubt it will. So, story number 3. This also launched today. I was like, by the way, it's like this week also gave us previews for Tears of the Kingdom. And now this also, apparently there was previews for this game that were also kind of like in the canon. They all like got unleashed today. It was like, this week's been packed, I tell you. On top of things happening in the real world that are also hilarious that happened on Monday. Remember that screenshot that I told you? It's like, just on Monday, this list of things. So, story number 3. Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, From Software's next game, gets August release date. From Software, the developer behind last year's critically acclaimed Elden Ring, announced Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon at the Game Awards in 2022. Now, less than 6 months later, we have a release date, and it's probably sooner than you expected. That's because Armored Core 6 hits PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on August 25th, 2023. From Software announced this out of nowhere with a surprise trailer today that runs more than 3 minutes long. It features plenty of flashy mech action and some teases about what might be going on in this beautiful but distraught sci-fi world. Paul, when I saw that trailer, I was like in awe. That looks so cool.
It's so cool looking. Just the level of detail, like the slow-mo of like there was a clip of your character firing a missile and it's in slow-mos and shows it breaking up into like a cluster shot, and it's like very, very clearly put with so much effort. Oh my goodness, like the bosses that your character is gliding around and jumping over and stuff, this is gorgeous. This is like just like how Ace Combat is built for the plane nerds, this is built for like all of the mech nerds to just really gush about all of this.
Absolutely. It's like I really love the mix of mech and post-apocalyptic like nightmare, and that's like how this looks. And literally this series has been dormant for 10 years. 2013 was the last game that from this franchise, and now it's like here's what's so funny. They're saying Armored Core 6 is a reboot, like a fresh start, and I'm like, why are you putting the 6 then? Like, you could have just called it Armored Core Fires of Rubicon. But hey, it's like maybe to try to bring people back, be like, hey, remember Armored Core 5, that last one that you guys really liked more than 4? We're back. But this can be you all new From Software believers that are like praising us at the altar after Elden Ring and Dark Souls. It's like, here's what we originally did, and we're bringing that back while still adding some Soulsy stuff from like what I've been reading with the previews, that they're adding things like the what's the stat that can stagger and like a character. I'm trying to remember what that was calling, like Dark Souls. Posture, that they're adding like things like posture, the scale of bosses and all that. I'm like, I haven't played Armored Core since like 4 because I rented that, and because I trust From Software now, it's like they gave us a game for August. I can't wait. It's like how cool, Paul. This was announced in December and it's out in August. More of this, please, developers, please. There's like, we're back finally. Feels like gaming is back to like this past 3 years of just perpetual disappointment and uncertainty of like, okay, are we even gonna be able to enjoy games, because there's always that like that thing that could be delayed. It feels so nice that we're getting games again, man. 2023 is awesome. So
dude, I just can't believe that we're getting another game in that summer. That
end of summer
is already just so crazy.
To be fair, it's like, what's in July, because Final Fantasy could last us from the end of June and all through July, and then this could be like ready right on time. So
right. I mean, if something takes up any of our time, that July is going to be a great opportunity to catch up with anything else. You know what? The Curious Case of Benedict Fox came out today, and we completely forgot about that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I've just been watching Star Wars. I think I put it in a download. I might try it, but that's the thing. Like, that's not gonna get any play for me right now. It's Jedi Survivor time, especially because I have to review it for Season Gaming. So, Armored Core being like at the end of August, so cool. It's just 9 days before Starfield also, and when Spider-Man, we know Spider-Man is allegedly September also. So in that period of time, there's gonna be like Armored Core 6, Starfield, and Spider-Man. This feels like the early aughts of me. Like I remember that 360 PS3 era getting so many games like back to back. It feels nice. It definitely feels nice. Story number 4. Guerrilla Games teases Aloy's next adventure in new studio statement. Just a few days, a story by Wesley LeBlanc from a Game Informer. Just a few days away from the launch of Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores DLC last week, Guerrilla Games has teased more adventures with Aloy. This news comes from a statement released by the studio to announce that studio director and executive producer Angie Smits is leaving Guerrilla to serve as the head of development strategy for PlayStation Studios. It's a move similar to the one of Team's former managing director Herman Holst made in 2019, transitioning from that director position to head of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios. Within that statement, Guerrilla teases what could be Horizon 3 or at least a third game in Aloy's world, as reported by PlayStation Lifestyle. Quote, "We have full confidence in our new leadership as they steer Guerrilla towards a bright future, expanding the world of Horizon with Aloy's next adventure and our exciting online project," the statement reads. As you can see, Guerrilla isn't trying to hide it. The studio has plans for another adventure with Aloy. And while rumors and speculation point to the exciting online project being some kind of multiplayer game within the Horizon world, this statement made sure to separate Aloy's next adventure and that online project. In terms of the studio's new makeup, the management team now consists of studio and production director Joe Ashler, studio director and general manager Helle Schmidt, and studio and art director Jan Vard van Beek. Technical director Michael Vanderlee will be focusing on the future technology and strategy for the Decima engine. So, basically just the studio shakeups over at the Guerrilla, but the positive ones. Still working for Sony, just like climbing up the ladder. I'll say this, like the execution of how Horizon has been as a franchise, like ignoring how it just gets ignored because of the unfortunate timing of its releases. Horizon is just quality. Like the people that work on Horizon have proved that they can make quality games, and these are the kind of people I want overseeing like the general portfolio of PlayStation Studios, because at the very least they maintain a level of quality and at least have come out in a consistent manner. So getting Angie Smits next to Herman Holtz, who came out of this, is like that's a big win, because they're actually know that's PlayStation for all their failings, and we know that they have a clown, an absolute clown at the top with Jim Ryan saying some stupid stuff. It seems that at the very least, in the places that matter, for the things that matter to us, which is game development and portfolio management, they're putting actual people that know how to manage things. Compare this to what's happening over at Microsoft, that for some reason, for the life of them, like can't just keep struggling releasing games. Then, I mean, Redfall's coming next week. Yeah, at 30 frames. Great job, guys. So, and basically just confirming the inevitable that it was already teased. Horizon 3 is coming. The online project I'm interested about, because there were some leaks that showed a different art style in a Horizon that was more like cartoony with a little bit more personality. I would say like the art style of Horizon is still very striking in a very like high quality, high def, realistic photorealism sort of prettiness. That multiplayer game seemed more like cartoonish, and that's something that can work really well with a game they want to monetize a lot and blah blah blah. So since that leaked, I'm pretty sure we're gonna hear this in the hypothetical PlayStation Showcase probably soon this month, Paul. So, because
I'm glad for all of these changes, and I'm glad that Guerrilla is clearly doing all of the right stuff. I do wish that they got their time in the limelight out of this, but maybe the multiplayer will hit just right, and maybe the Horizon 3 will hit.
Yeah, Horizon is literally just one good release away, like one release date away from being a massive hit. I still stand that had this game Forbidden West come out in 2021 when it was supposed to, that would have cleaned up easy that year. But it had to come into the battle where Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok came to the slugfest, and they just kind of got knocked out of the competition like almost immediately, because those games are obviously better. IMO. But that's the thing. Those games are better. Doesn't take away the fact that Forbidden West is really good. And it deserved, like the Horizon franchise deserves its flowers. Please, Guerrilla, plan better when to release these things. You deserve the limelight, not next to... But that's the thing, their time is that they release next to generational defining games. I can never imagine like a worse timing for this kind of game. So, oh man. Hey, Horizon 3 is coming, so... One of the few PlayStation current franchises that's gonna hit trilogy. We haven't had one since Uncharted 3, Killzone 3, Resistance 3. because of the protect the development cycle. So, and we may hear about these things in the alleged PlayStation Showcase, because this next news may give us an idea that Sony may be wanting to talk about now, because some things may have swayed in their favor in an ironic way. Final story, Paul, by Wesley LeBlanc. UK regulators block Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard over cloud gaming concerns. The Competition and Markets Authority, a UK regulatory agency that serves the same function as the Federal Trade Commission in the US, has blocked Microsoft's pending $68.7 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard over cloud gaming concerns. This news is somewhat shocking, as quite a few experts predicted that the CMA would allow the deal to go through. And while this block presents a large barrier to Microsoft's progress forward toward this acquisition, it's not a be-all, end-all for the purchase. Microsoft says it remains dedicated to this acquisition and will appeal the CMA's ruling. As for why the CMA is moving to prevent the acquisition, it cites concerns the deal would alter the future of the fast-growing cloud gaming market, leading to reduced innovation and less choice for UK gamers over the years to come, in its official announcement. The final decision to prevent the deal comes after Microsoft's proposed solution failed to effectively address the concerns in the cloud gaming sector, outlined in the Competition and Markets Authority provisional findings published in February. It continues. Microsoft has a strong position in cloud gaming services, and the evidence available to the CMA show that Microsoft will find it commercially beneficial to make Activision games exclusive to its own cloud gaming service. It says elsewhere in the announcement that this deal would reinforce Microsoft's advantage in the market by giving it control over important gaming content such as Call of Duty, Overwatch, and World of Warcraft, and that evidence available to the CMA indicates that, absent the merger, Activision would start providing games via cloud platforms in the foreseeable future. Prior to this block, Microsoft did submit a proposal to address some of the CMA's concerns, but ultimately it failed to sway the agency. The CMA laid out a number of significant shortcomings connected with the growing and fast-moving nature of cloud gaming services for Microsoft's proposal. It did not sufficiently cover different cloud gaming service business models, including multi-game subscription services. It was not sufficiently open to providers who might wish to offer versions of games on PC operating systems other than Windows, and it would standardize the terms and conditions on which games are available, as opposed to them being determined by the dynamism and creativity of competition in the market, as would be expected in the absence of the merger. Microsoft released a statement about today's announcement, citing that it is disappointed the decision seemingly reflects a flawed understanding of the video game and cloud gaming market. It will appeal the decision. Here's Microsoft's statement in full from Vice Chair and President Brad Smith. We remain fully committed to this acquisition and will appeal. The CMA's decision rejects a pragmatic path to address competition concerns and discourages technology innovation and investment in the United Kingdom. We have already signed contracts to make Activision Blizzard's popular games available on 150 million more devices, and we remain committed to reinforcing these agreements through regulatory remedies. We're especially disappointed that after lengthy deliberations, this decision appears to reflect a flawed understanding of this market and the way the relevant cloud technology actually works. Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick released a statement about the CMA's decision following its announcement as well. You can read it, you can hear it. Today, the Competition and Markets Authority, a regulatory agency in the UK, decided not to approve our merger with Microsoft. This isn't the news we wanted, but it's far from the final word on this deal. Alongside Microsoft, we can and will contest this decision, and we've already begun to work to appeal to the UK Competition Appeals Tribunal. We're confident in our case because the facts are on our side. This deal is good for competition. The UK hopes to grow its leadership position in technology, and combined Microsoft Activision would accomplish exactly that. At a time when the fields of machine learning and artificial intelligence are thriving, we know the UK market would benefit from Microsoft's bench strength in both domains, as well as our ability to put those technologies to use immediately. By contrast, if the CMA's decision holds, it would stifle investment, competition, and job creation throughout the UK gaming industry. Blah, 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 blah. So, I'll say this.
I think you had me through like 3/4 of it. I was being really good, and then at some point my eyes just glazed over.
No, and that one just I was just reading so much like BS that it's like. There was also this article that President Brad Smith said, like, let me quote you this. It's like hilarious the way they put this, because I actually dunked on them. Microsoft says Activision deal block is the darkest day in 4 decades in Britain. Fuck off. Yeah, you're not gonna let us spend the $70 billion. Yeah, go fuck yourself, Microsoft. Like, who cares? It's like, yeah, it's like
darkest day in Britain in 40 years. I feel like there might be a few big events that might have been a slightly higher importance.
Exactly. So I'm like, they have been trying to present themselves as like the benevolent company that's gonna like, don't worry guys, we're signing all these deals to promise you that we're not gonna like foreclose these businesses to make everything exclusive and give us such a big advantage in the market. And I can imagine the CMA smelled the BS. They totally smelled the BS, and they can cry a river for all I care. From what I understand, like trying to appeal a CMA thing, it's actually really hard. It's like they're the ones that are like forcing Meta to divest from Giphy. They're the ones that like stonewalled AMD. So the thing is that here's what's also funny. Microsoft had been running ads in the UK saying that it's like the merger was gonna complete. They're gonna be offering all this stuff. It was like they were swinging the big dick. They were swinging it so hard, and oh man, this is delicious. What the thing I hate about this poll though is that because they want to appeal this, it can take up to 3 years for that appeal to go through. 3 years, and they're not willing to like to let this go. It's like I can't imagine if a worse story that has just been ongoing. You mentioned it today in our chat. This is like the Amber Heard / Johnny Depp of gaming right now. Just something that just keeps on going and going. And it's so tiring.
Yeah, and the concept of everybody jumps on and acts like they know what they're talking about, and then just fills the media with all of their unwarranted suggestions.
Yeah.
Most of which are just not right at all.
Yeah, and here's the danger for Microsoft now. Is like, from what I understand, the EU still have their preliminary like decision to say what they're going to say about this deal, because UK and EU are completely separate markets due to Brexit. Usually whatever the CMA decides, the EU also like follows through, because if they hear the UK says something, they're gonna be like, okay, they said this, so we might as well also say the same thing. They were hoping, from what I've been hearing from the people that are quote unquote in the know, that understand mergers and acquisitions and all that, that it was looking like the CMA and the EU were gonna let this deal go through, especially when we talked about a few weeks ago when they said that they didn't find that Microsoft had the intention to make Call of Duty exclusive because it would be so much money on the table. So they couldn't imagine that it would be like financially beneficial for them to like close up that market. So obviously they were gonna keep they knew they were gonna keep their word and keeping that game everywhere. So that was not their concern. It's cloud where they got screwed, because
really funny, honestly.
Yeah. It's like Microsoft's whole investments on the Azure on the Azure cloud servers has been like, now it's kicking them in the butt, because obviously like you need innovators in the space. People are gonna push the technology and all that, but there's also kind of the danger when you're that and then you're acquiring all of that, it looks bad. No matter how good you say you're gonna be to your competitors and blah 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 and all that, it's like you always feel like there's gonna be a shoe that's gonna drop. And from what I understand is apparently what was being proposed that wasn't mentioned here was that the CMA would have had to keep enforcing, making sure that Microsoft kept their work going like every few years, and then they just went fuck it. They literally were like, no, we're just blocking. So instead of having to go through a process of having to keep enforcing this, and I want to see Microsoft keep trying to absorb this company still embroiled in so much sexual harassment thing. Hey everyone, remember that 2 years ago when it was like the state of California was suing Activision Blizzard and all that? All that got quiet because of this acquisition. So it's just so funny. It's like, I want to see them fight this tooth and nail. The thing is that if the EU blocks, it's over. Because then the FTC is just going to go and block, because they're going to say, even though like the FTC had the weakest case to try to block them, if Microsoft was going to try to like make sure that the deal went through in the UK and EU, and then take the FTC to court to prove them. It's like, why do you want it to block? It's like, they let it go through. It's like, see, if one of these like block, it's like, it's over. It's
it's I don't even know what's going to go down anymore, because I mean, if they do get it, it's just going to be a tooth and nail fight for 3 whatever years. And either way, it's not really going to matter to any of us for a while. So I just kind of hope we stop hearing about it for a while.
Yeah, to me in particular, because we play more on PlayStation. It's like, after learning that this stupid deal is what prevented us from getting a showcase last year, because of the way Sony was trying to present themselves to make a case for why this thing shouldn't go. It's like, that's when to me got personal. I keep saying that. It's like, it was like, yeah, it's like it screwed us because of what the reverberations of what this deal was doing for the company we want to hear more from their exclusives about. So we had heard that there's a showcase that apparently is going to be in May for Sony, maybe like early June from what we heard. It's like that seems to be like a closer reality now. It does seem funny that with this being blocked, it would be funny if Sony be like, hey, we got a showcase. Be like when they heard like something, stonewalled something. So, and the irony, Sony still has the Call of Duty marketing for this year and next year still. So they did all of that, but they still have to prevent the game that they don't want to go through. It's such a mess. But to me, just hearing that the darkest day in 4 decades in Britain, I was like, that's when I was like, no, guys, it's like, I wanted you guys to have this because I just wanted this deal to get done. I was like, I just didn't care, but now this was just, I was like, when I woke up to that and I showed you that this Monday, I was like, wow. I was like, I know it was actually Wednesday before the Jedi Survivor review. So I was like, I was not expecting that many big news out of this. Like, I thought it was a done deal. In fact, the day before, there were many tweets you can find and be like, oh yeah, it's like, Microsoft is getting close to like closing up this deal. It was like, those things didn't age well. And I tell you, more insufferable Xbox to block in my For You page has been like really fun to be doing whenever I do that. So, oh well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like even when we thought it would be over, Paul, it's not over. It's now continuously gonna keep going.
It won't stop.
It sucks, but it was still funny. It's still funny. It's just like Microsoft's gonna be crybabies about it, but it's more to me. It's just funny because I know that Bobby Kotick, the one that I just blah 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 his whole statement. He wants this deal to go through because he wants his platinum parachute to not have to deal with the repercussions of the sexual harassment at Activision and all of that, because they were going to give him the parachute because then Microsoft was going to be like, no, don't worry, we're going to be the ones that are going to clean this place. You get out of here with all your millions of dollars. That's why he wants this thing to go through. So, and if it doesn't go through, it's like, then he has to like face the fire. So, and he obviously doesn't want that because he wants this thing to go through. So, more drama, and I just can't wait to see what the next big thing will be for that. So,
I'm just glad Jedi Survivor comes out tonight.
I know. By the way, just a tweet from Ryan McCaffrey, which is whatchamacallit, the head of the Xbox podcast over at IGN. He just tweeted, "An Xbox podcaster's worst nightmare." And he just put a quote is like, outcomes remain and why we're likely going to be hearing about this deal for months and potentially years to come. I feel bad for Xbox only people. That's all they have to talk about because they can't enjoy games. So
they're not allowed to.
Yeah.
And not only that, but we keep getting our Armored Core 6s and Final Fantasy 16s, and they have Redfall.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm glad we have all the consoles. Like, we can play it, like, Benedict Fox is going to be there for Game Pass. It's like, I'm glad we can still dip our toe everywhere, but imagine just being only in one, especially if we were just on Xbox. I would feel miserable. Like, see, this being like the discourse and just being in that platform. Like, your games never launching like how they should. Discourse always being like so negative to them. It's like, everything they can only care about is just acquiring things. It's like, that sucks that the only things that you can talk about in your ecosystem is just swallowing up competitions because for some reason everything you have just is not producing. That just sucks. And Lord. For as much as we clown on PlayStation, and they deserve to be clowned, at least in the things that matter, we've gotten games from them that have been really good.
All of them do. I'm just glad that I happen to pick the game system that gets more game.
Yeah, but hey, eventually, one day, those 23 studios are going to produce, Paul. One day. Then they might be singing a different tune. It just sucks that in the here and now. That's how it feels like to be over in that side. So, multi-platform ownership forever. Because otherwise you wouldn't be able to enjoy Zelda this coming in 2 weeks also. But, Paul, tell me, what are the games releasing from April 30th to May 6th? It's already May.
There is, golly. We get Age of Wonders 4 for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC on May 2nd. Redfall coming on Xbox Series X and S and PC finally on May 2nd. Super Dungeon Maker on Switch and PC on May 3rd. Ravenlock on Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and PC on May 4th, and Death or Treat on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC
Literally,
on May 5th.
Literally only Redfall matters here. And even then, I'm going to try it just to see how it runs in our system, but
we're finally getting to that stage where there's no last-gen stuff on there, technically.
Yeah. So it's like
you can argue the Switch, but I mean, I'm not going to talk about that one right now.
For the systems that matter, I'm glad that we're finally moving on. I tell you, when I finally saw what Guerrilla did for Burning Shores, just with PS5 only, I'm like, this is why we needed to let go of the old systems. It's like, it has to be seen to be believed why it's important for developers to finally let go of the PS4 and the Xbox One. So, I'm hoping for the best for Redfall. I tell you, it's like, I'm a clown on Microsoft. I feel the Xbox gamers need a win. Like, gamers that are gaming there that want exclusives, I hope Redfall shocks people. I hope that it's the one that can start, like, again, a positive sentiment that they sort of got back in 2021, but they haven't gotten since then. It's just been negative in that space, and they need a win. Because imagine if the other shoe was in the other foot. If we were just taking L's after L's after L's, so they need that, especially when
it would be so disheartening.
Yeah, it's like, can you imagine? It's like, imagine if they didn't have Game Pass. God, just thinking about that, it's like, Game Pass is literally the water draft for that company.
If they didn't have Game Pass, they'd actually put effort into making games. Ooh.
Yeah. To be fair, that could be like something worth discussing.
It's a crutch.
Yeah, it's like, is this the reason why we're not getting games? Because it's like Game Pass is kind of keeping them afloat in a way, instead of putting like the pressure, we got to put things out. But
yup,
Xbox sales are going down, but apparently their revenue for subscriptions is going up. So we know what they care about. So, Paul, that's it for this week. This is like episode 99, a little like rowdy this week for me, but episode 100 next week. It's all about Jedi Survivor, I tell you.
It's all coming together.
It's all coming together. So I'll see you next week for that special occasion. And for everyone that listens to the show, we want to thank you so much. It's been 99 episodes. Like, people have come and gone. Like, I see those listenerships. It's like they have fluctuated, but it's like it's still growing, especially over on audio side. And I'm like, yeah, it's like we got a few people going. It's like, obviously we wish we could be bigger, but considering we don't promote, like, we don't like pay for ads and all that, just like the endemic growth of this show just by itself has been like something that I've enjoyed and has kept us going. Because remember, there was a point where we were not seeing growth, and suddenly we're like, oh, wait a second, there's people listening. So back in like 2021.
But anybody who sponsors, don't think that we're too proud to not sell out.
Yeah. That's the thing, like sponsors have to come to us. It's like, I'm not gonna be like pursuing that like aggressively, not right now.
Today's sponsor is Raid Shadow Legends.
So that would be funny, like doing like ad reads and all that. But yeah, Jedi Survivor just in 5 hours from now, Paul. So
I'm debating legitimately trying to stay up an extra hour tonight, like just taking the hit to get like a little bit of time in. I'm deciding, frankly, because I really want to play something. I don't want to wait till the entire day finishes up tomorrow. Yeah. But who knows?
Yeah, I'm killing time just finishing the sequel trilogy. So that'd be fun.
True.
Like, lower my excitement for Jedi Survivor to boost it up.
With the sequels, it's probably helping you quite a bit, honestly.
Yeah.
You're really lowering that bar, and then Jedi Survivor comes in right at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, yeah.
Clean transition.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't have timed it perfectly. But yeah, everyone, thank you so much. Stay healthy, stay safe, and remember,
press X
to play.
Good night, everybody.
Hasta luego.
I'm at Dork of Art on Twitter.
And I'm at @_Dorsegovia on Twitter also.
Bye.